Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Sake. Happy Friday, y'all. I hope you have a good weekend, but let's get started with what I want to go over today. So, real quick, I'll go over my three biggest lines for college football that I disagree with. Let's start off with UCF 3-2 versus third Cincinnati 5-0. Cincinnati's favored by 20.5 at home. I know these are a lot of points to be favored by, but UCF has no offense since quarterback Dylan Gabriel has been out for the past few weeks, and their defense hasn't been able to contain anyone, so they won't contain Cincy's offense. So I feel like, especially since this is at home, this would be a blowout in Cincy, despite the rivalry being pretty close. Talent gaps a little bit big right now with UCF's injuries. Next is Pittsburgh versus Virginia Tech. I already discussed about this in my top 10 games, but like I said, I feel like Pittsburgh being a 5-point favorite is a little interesting there, with Virginia Tech being the better home team and coming off, a game where they had Notre Dame on the ropes and they should have won, but they fell through. Pittsburgh, besides Tennessee's kind of played no one tough yet, so Pittsburgh has to kind of prove something to me. And since Virginia Tech, I kind of see more of them against tougher competition, I'm going to take Virginia Tech in the points here, if not the straight up upset. But you can choose whether you do upset or not, but I feel like you should at least take the points there. And then last but not least, UCLA 4-2 versus Washington 2-3. Washington's favored by 2 at home, and I don't get why Washington's favored here. They're only 2-3. They haven't beaten anyone good yet. UCLA is too much on offense for Washington. I feel like they handle, in my opinion. Now, do I think the Huskies can be competitive in this game? Sure, but I don't see an upset in here. So therefore, I don't really see them getting closer than 2. Maybe I feel like it's a touchdown or like 10-point type of game or something like that. So I would take UCLA in the points there. But now this is going to be my fantasy special. So as I did, with fantasy football and all that, now I go over my official fantasy basketball roster. Now for basketball, this is interesting. So it's not just a starting 5 at bench. So what you have is you have a starting 10, you have a traditional starting 5, but then you have an extra guard, an extra forward, and then you have 3 utility players. And utility players means they can be any position. And then we have 4 bench players, and then 2 people you could put on IR if you need to, injured reserve. And then for me, keep in mind there's 10 teams in my league, and I had the 5th pick. So keep that in mind. So now to get started, so for my first pick with that 5th pick, I had a couple different choices here. The top 2 options I could have gone with was either KD or Steph Curry. In the end, I went with Steph Curry, and here's why. Mainly because Harden is with KD, so therefore Harden's going to be absorbing a lot of the points that KD would typically get if he was by himself. Kind of like how without Klay Thompson to start the year, Steph Curry's going to be getting that. But then also as far as supporting cast goes, Brooklyn's supporting cast can give you a lot more points, I feel like, than Golden State's supporting cast can. So therefore, Steph Curry, like last year, where he was a top 3 MVP caliber type of player, I feel like he's going to have to take, a lot of points there and like score a lot, try to get an assist. He can be the focal point of the offense, basically. So therefore, that's why I picked Steph Curry as my first pick. Next, for my second pick, I was going to go Donovan Mitchell. I'm a little bit salty about because the guy who picked right before me grabbed Donovan Mitchell, so I was super close there. But so for my second pick, I went with Nikola Vucevic, the center from Chicago. I mean, he's a walking double-double, 22 and 10 per game. And what's interesting is that with Orlando, he's the focal point of the offense because Orlando was a bad team. But now with Chicago being around Levine and Ball and Caruso and DeRozan, it'll be interesting scoring-wise how much he scores. But I still think he'll be that kind of second banana behind Levine. So therefore, I feel like he can still average at least 20 points a game and still get his rebounds and whatnot. So I feel like he's still going to be an all-star caliber player like he was last year. Third, I selected Rudy Gobert as my third pick. Now, that's not the sexy pick per se, but hear me out. Obviously, you get points for scoring and assisting and all that, and rebounding, which Gobert is good at. But then also, you get points, and it's kind of a more extra points when you get a block or a steal or something like that because they're more hard to do. And as we know, Rudy Gobert's defense player 3 times for a reason. He's good in the blocks and steals, especially blocks type of category there. So therefore, he'll be able. That makes up for him, not scoring over 20 points a game type of thing. So therefore, it's still a pretty good pick. I feel like he'll still probably be an all-star once again. With my fourth pick, I had decided to get Chris Middleton. Now, what's interesting here is I'm banking on him playing like he did in the playoffs last year. Now, I'm not expecting perfection from him every single game because, again, he's not that elite type of player. I mean, the experts think he's a top 20 player coming into this season for a reason. So I'm hoping he can prove that to me and, you know, basically have a good season. And with, PJ Tucker gone, Brian Forbes off the bench gone, all that. I mean, I know they replaced him with some other bench players, but I feel like Chris Middleton's definitely going to have to carry the load, if you will, in order for Milwaukee to kind of maintain with Brooklyn there for that number one seed type of thing. For my next pick, I I needed a shooting guard. So at this point, I got the best available player on the board at this time, and he was ranked by ESPN 29th overall best, and at this point it was like 48th. So he basically fell around 20 spots. And for this player, I got Drew Holiday, so I got Middleton's teammate there in Milwaukee. Now I know Holiday's very inconsistent, but I'm hoping that he can be consistent enough this year, especially since you know regular season he was coming off COVID and all that, and he just had to take a long time to get in grade to the system. But also because of Drew Holiday's defense, again, that's kind of like Gobert. It's going to make up for some of the inconsistencies maybe on him, so that he can still be averaging a lot of points there. So I basically got him as steal there. The fact that he fell that far. And then for my fifth pick, what is this? One, two. Yeah, this is fifth. No, sixth pick here. I needed a power forward at this point. A lot of good power forwards are kind of taken already, unfortunately. So I didn't get the best of the best on this one. And I had a couple options to choose from, but I went ahead and went with Sean Holmes from Sacramento. Now I know Tristan Thompson's there, and he's basically gonna, have some of the minutes that Holmes typically got last year. But I do feel like Holmes is going to be a starter. And I do feel like with the new contract that he got and Sacramento believing in him to get that big contract. Now, it's not a big contract per se, but it's a big enough contract to where like it's starter level type of money. So I feel like they're with that belief in him and all that, and with the Kings guards getting better and all that, hopefully Rashawn Holmes can kind of do his thing. If he can be a 15, 12 type of guy, then that's good enough for me. Next, I went ahead and got with the next best available player on the board at this point. And now when I say next available player, I mean assuming they don't have any like major like red flags as far as injuries go and all that. So the next one on the board was C.J. McCollum for Portland. Now with him being integrated in Chauncey Billups' system and all that, I'm not sure if that's going to affect his scoring and all that because since he's not going to be a rebounder assist type of guy, he's not a good defender. I mean, scoring is kind of where he's at. So I'm hoping that Billups will put him in the best spot and make him score the most behind Damian Lillard. And especially since the Blazers didn't do that much to upgrade their bench, hopefully that helps CJ McCollum score a lot. Therefore helps me, but we'll see. Next, I went ahead and got the next available player, which I got Mike Conley, point guard for Utah. I mean, he was even though he was a substitute All-Star, there's a reason why he ended up being an All-Star for finally the first time last year. It's because he had one of his best years ever, excluding the injury part of it, because he got injured multiple times. And I usually don't take players that have injury history, so Mike Conley for me was definitely risky. I was going to take Kyle Lowry, but you got to take him right before. But I was like, I need another point guard, so Mike Conley could do the build there. So I'm hoping Mike Conley just continues to build off the momentum he built off last year. Next, I needed a forward, so I got Norman Powell from Portland. He got paid like a starting small forward, so I'm hoping he plays like it. It takes and elevates his game even more. That could have been a mistake there. That's a risky one, but I'm hoping more progression. And then next for my last starter pick or utility player, I went ahead and got Reggie Jackson. So now for this one, obviously high risk, high reward thing. I'm obviously banking that he's going to perform like he did in the playoffs last year. Now I know the Clippers brought Eric Bledsoe in, but with Kawhi Leonard being out for the majority of the year, I feel like Reggie Jackson should be able to get his shot and scoring a lot of points. Therefore, I'm hoping he kind of continues that momentum that he had in the playoffs, and he can average 18 to 20 points a game and 6 assists or something like that. Then that's good enough for me. So then for my first bench player, I went ahead and drafted Klay Thompson. Now this one's interesting because obviously if Klay Thompson were completely healthy, he would have been taken a long time ago. But because he's in, and in fact, that's a good thing I'd take him because apparently now that we got into the bench players, people were going to take a flyer on him. Because you have two IR spots, you can take Klay Thompson and then put him on your IR spot right after the draft, and then obviously through the waivers you can go grab someone else, which is what I did. But I went ahead and grabbed Klay Thompson there because even if he takes a while to get back to, I feel like he'll come back around Christmas time, which is enough time to kind of get yourself ready for the playoffs. But even if he kind of takes a while to kind of get to 100%, because I mean he's not going to be as good as he was on defense, which is too bad because he's a really underrated good defensive player. But as far as offense goes, he's like, I mean, I know he can do a lot of stuff on offense normally, but I imagine he's going to be a lot more just staying in the court ready to shoot that three when Steph, whoever's ready to get the ball to him. And if he can just shoot like he does, then I feel like he'll be just fine. He'll give me a lot of points once he's able to start. And then for my next pick, I needed a forward, a wing player. So I went ahead and went with second-year player Saddiq Bey from Detroit. He kind of for people who don't know him, he kind of emerged on late towards the end of last year. And in this last, I don't know, was it 18, 20 starts, he ended up getting near 20 points a game and was a good three-point shooter, getting like 8 rebounds a game type of thing. So I'm hoping he continues off the momentum from the end of last year, especially with Kate Cunningham being out and all that, and Detroit not having a lot of talent there. I mean, he's going to be a starter for sure. At least that's what I'm hearing. So therefore, he should be able to hopefully, give me points when I have to use him. My next bench player, I needed a big man, so I went ahead and went with Kelly Olynyk, now from Detroit. But I know he's not a starting though, because that's for Isaiah Stewart. But Kelly Olynyk is the type of center where he's kind of like a Brook Lopez. For a big man, he's just a really, really good shooter, and also Olynyk's a very good rebounder as well. So therefore, coming off the bench, if he can give me 15 points and 7, 8 rebounds a game coming off the bench, even though he's not starting, then that's all I needed. That's good enough for me. Because a lot of the centers that are bench players, a lot of them typically are because they probably can't shoot the deep ball as well, or like something like that. But for him, he has a good stroke. Next, for my last pick, I got Marcus Smart. Again, he's had some inconsistency there, but he got paid. I feel like he's going to elevate his game, especially with the new head coach there. I feel like he'll put him in a better situation. And I know Dennis Schroeder's there and all that, but with Kemba Walker being gone, I feel like more scoring is have to be put upon Marcus Smart. And of course, I'm hoping for Marcus Smart's defensive abilities to kind of show there. Now, what's interesting, so like I said, since Klay Thompson is going to go to IR, I went ahead and grabbed 2 people. Even though I have 1 spot left, I had 2 people. Here's why. My first one, I grabbed Dillon Brooks. And the reason why I was able to grab him is because he's going to be on IR for the first couple weeks of the season coming off, I think it was hand surgery, wrist surgery, or something like that. And Dillon Brooks, he's a very good player. Like in the postseason, he averaged, 22 points a game, wherever. And he's like, a lockdown defender where he'll get some steals, and hustle and all that. So I feel like if he can come back, be healthy, let's say in a month or so, and I feel like that's definitely worth it to grab him if he continues that elevation like he did in the postseason. And then for my other pick, I'm surprised he didn't get drafted, but I got Seth Curry, especially with Simmons, who knows how much he's going to play and all that. I feel like Seth Curry, like he did in the postseason, the more scoring load is going to have to be relied upon him because it can't be just Embiid, especially if Embiid's out or something like that. Now, I know Seth Curry is often non-injury prone, which is why once both Dillon Brooks and Klay Thompson come back, he'll probably not be on my roster along with Marcus Smart and Seth Curry are kind of just there until Klay Thompson and Brooks are both healthy. But Seth Curry, I feel like can do the job, assuming he plays like he did in the playoffs. So there you go. That's my roster to repeat. Steph Curry, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Rashawn Holmes, Nikola Vucevic, starting 5. And then for my other starting 5, C.J. McCollum, Norman Powell, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Reggie Jackson. And then for my bench players, Saddiq Bey, Kelly Olynyk, Marcus Smart, Seth Curry, and then I got my Klay Thompson, Dillon Brooks IR. So now I know there's obviously other good teams in my league. There's not much gap separating between the best teams and the worst teams, or even the middle of the pack in the league. It's going to be pretty interesting. Like for me, I would say I'm top 3 at the least, but again, I'm not sure anything can happen. It's going to be interesting what happens after last year. I was just so injury prone and made some questionable trades. So yeah, I'm hoping this time it works out. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and tell everyone about me. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.